yeah, so I had ordered the bagel well done. And when I got it, the outsides of it were kind of crispy, but it was still chewy in the middle, which I know is, that's how people like bagels, and it's more of sort of a me thing I need to sort of conquer, like a personal issue that I need to take care of, and that's, that was sort of why I wanted to. Oh, oh yeah, I still have the Aetna health insurance. Oh, this is the. Oh, I didn't realize this was the receptionist. Yeah, that's why I was calling for the appointment, because of that bagel. Yeah, Monday at 3 is fine. Thank you. Bye. Hi, welcome to Talk About the Passion. Tonight we're going to talk about the year 1973. I think I was 3. I think that's how my ages have gone, because I was born in 1969. Let's get right off the bat here and talk about in the early, there was a store in the Boston area in the 80s called Hubba Hubba, which was, I think the original one was on Newbury Street in the Back Bay area of Boston. And they sold, that's where you would get Doc Martens. And I think later on they became more of like a sex store, or marketed like that. And I think they just closed the last store recently, like within the last few months. But on one, particular Sunday afternoon, I think in like 1989 or 1990, I was in the area with a friend, and at the time in my usual outfit of my skinhead outfit of a green bomber jacket, jeans pegged with oxblood Doc Martens with whatever color laces we were wearing that week, and Led Zeppelin Houses of the Holy shirt, of course, because that's what you did back then. So of course I was surprised when the front door of the business opened while him and I were in there, and Robert Plant walked in. Yeah, the guy who used to wear those tight pants that hid nothing. The guy that would sing and do this kind of thing. We're like, I don't fucking care what the fuck's happening. The guy who introduced me to the word confounded. So he comes in, and of course I'm 19, 20 years old at this time, and I'm like, I need fucking Robert Plant's autograph, and so we plant ourselves outside. No pun intended. I didn't even mean to say that. Anyway, we planted ourselves outside and waited for him to come out with his assistant, and I approached him and said something like, I've been a huge fan of your music forever. And he looks at me wearing a literal his band fucking t-shirt, and is like, yeah, no shit, you're a fan of my music. So I said, can I get your autograph? And I don't know if I had a pen or his assistant, but I had a business card from Jim's Tattoo Studio in Seabrook, New Hampshire, which is a place all of us went to at the time. Guys in the Wrecking Crew and wherever else, we're all going there. We brought them a lot of business, the skinhead guys. But anyway, so he takes the pen and he kind of jokes like, okay, let's make sure no one sees us though, and kind of gives me the autograph. And that was, I'd like to thank because a few minutes later he ends up at Newbury Comics, because this is like a goth store, so nobody in there was surrounding Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. But if as soon as I was done talking to him for the 4 minutes or whatever, he made his way down to Newbury Comics, which was a few stores down, and he was, of course, surrounded by people in there. So we got to him first, and I would like to thank the the Houses of the Holy t-shirt I was wearing at the time for saving me from him just thinking I was some random skinhead, trying to take the piss out. Let's talk about this album, though, Houses of the Holy, just the one that we were just kind of talking about. I just had a little story I wanted to tell you. I'd like to name drop, apparently. Whatever. So Houses of the Holy, this record was a huge record for me. More than 4, I think. 4, instantly, sucked me in. I think it was just the guitar sound on that was so weird and foreign to me at the time. But this record is just huge sounding, and I think this is the one where John Bonham kind of, the way he's recorded on this is, it's just like right in your face. And, the album, kicks off with the song remains the same. And, that this could probably be my favorite Zeppelin record, but it has, a couple songs that aren't that great in my opinion, like Jamaica and the Crunge, which of course are both John Bonham songs, and I'm kind of talking about how much great he is on this record, but those are kind of throwaway songs in my opinion. Sue me. But the rest of this record, the seconds, this is another one of those, the second song thing I talk about. It's the Rain Song. Normally putting a ballad as the second song in a record, especially after something like The Song Remains the Same, is kind of crazy, because it's just not something you would do. But this song is, I think it's one of their best songs. Maybe my own. I always say that with these. Maybe my favorite song by them. But it's just because we're just shooting the shit here, right? Right, Joey? How's Drake May doing? Okay. But yeah. So is his name Drake? What a weird name. But yeah. So the live version of that song, I feel like I'm all over the place. Let me just breathe for a second here, buddy. We're talking about Houses of the Holy. We got a whole bunch of shit here tonight, so we better get a move on it. So the Rain Song, though, if you've ever heard the one from the live record, The Song Remains the Same, that gives you this like intense build and release, especially Bonham's playing on that live one. That whole live record is just anything from that era of them live is great, but this this song for this record for 40 minutes, it's got Dancing Days, The Ocean, which are just fun songs, and then of course No Quarter, which is the other just moody, John Paul Jones heavy song, the winds of Thor are blowing cold, cold, cold. So yeah, it's got all that crazy Zeppelin lore to it. And it's another one of those, the live versions of that are great. Houses of the Holy, Led Zeppelin. What do you think? Let's move on. We got a lot to cover here. When the age-old question would come up, the age-old, who do you like better, the Beatles or the Stones? I always used to say the Who. I was one of those like douches that would do stuff like that. Oh, I'm the Who, but mainly because I think I related to them better, and I think like them and the Kinks. The Kinks were a little more almost too British to get, when they were a little later into their records. There was a lot of references and stuff I didn't get, but early on their songs, their love songs, and songs of just being like about being like a young teenager and that kind of thing. Were more relatable, the Kinks ones and the Who ones. But when I really got into the Who was around 1979, which is around the time that the movie The Kids Are All Right came out, and the movie Quadrophenia. I think they both came out in that year. Quadrophenia based on the 1973 record Quadrophenia, which we'll talk about in a second here. But that movie, the Kids Are All Right movie, and I think it's because my dad, was a music business guy, and maybe we had a connection there. But we always had movies or stuff that wasn't out, that was just out recently. But we had The Kids Are All Right on videotape, or maybe it was on Night Flight or something, and I recorded it or something. But I just know we had it because this is a film my brother and my cousin and I would watch constantly. And to the point where, to this day I can recite a lot of every interview segment that Who does in this, just all those little wacky interludes with, Keith Moon and Ringo Starr in the S&M dungeon and all that stuff. Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that probably sounds kind of weird. But yeah, if you've never seen that movie, it's one of my favorite rock documentaries. And you know, when I worked at Rounder Records, I worked with this guy Lee Stein, and his brother was Jeff Stein, who was the guy who made this movie. And Lee mentioned one time he was at the I think they did like a show for like staff people or just like maybe invited people where they recorded Won't Get Fooled Again and Bob O'Reilly. And Lee was at this. I'm like, oh, you're, you know, just one of those brags. Lee also managed Rocket Records in Nashua, New Hampshire for a little while as well. I didn't know him then. And then there's the movie Quadrophenia, based on the record, which is a little different. And I remember my mother took us to see that. This was in a movie theater or in Massachusetts at one point. We went to see it. And another one we had on videotape. And I didn't really completely understand the record or the movie. But some of the themes kind of came through of like alienation and just, you know, him sort of like admiring the Bell, like Sting's character in this. And just that whole thing, and just his, later on, at least when I was a teenager into this record, like how he was with girls and relationships and that kind of thing. He's kind of a weird dude. Played brilliantly by Phil Daniels, is that his name, in the movie? And the movie is good. I love the movie. But the record is, my brother had this record, and I remember at the time thinking it was like a dark, just sort of daunting record. So I never really tackled it outside of, you know, when I saw the movie. Aside from like, you know, The Real Me and, you know, Love, Rain Over Me, I never really got into the record. And then, you know, years later, you know, it's become one of my favorite records. And I love, you know, how right after The Real Me, it goes into the, where they go through the themes of all the songs on the record. Like the song Quadrophenia, it's an instrumental that touches on, I think it has Love, Rain Over Me, 550, I don't know. It's got 4 of the different songs on there. It's hard to find a favorite song on this record, but for me, it's probably I'd say Seeing Sand or Cut My Hair. And if anything, for the guitar tone Pete has, like at the beginning, that intro little lead part on Cut My Hair is amazing. And then just that dressed right for a beach fight. But he just can't explain the uncertain feeling inside of his brain. You know, I was feeling that when I was like 14 listening to this, you know. I just didn't know what fucking dressed right for a beach fight meant, you know. Although there was a period in Swampscott, Massachusetts, where there was fights on the beach between Swampscott and Lynn, which, you know, tracks, and which was probably very different from what was going on here in Brighton. Anyway, let's move on. James Brown, Black Caesar. All these like James Brown 70s soundtracks, I love them. You know, some of them don't, you know, are just like sort of loosely based on, you know, on the film. That's kind of what this one is, I think. You know, most of this stuff isn't on the record, isn't necessarily like about the movie, but the best song on here though is the opener, Down and Out in New York City, which I think is, you know, one of his best tracks. And then just this has Fred Wesley, Jabo Starks. But then like the weird stuff on this is Steve Gadd shows up on here, and Jan Hammer has a songwriting credit on here on a song called The Chase, which is sort of like I think it's one of like the interlude songs on here, which was later sampled by Run DMC on the song Is It Live? Anyway, we'll just kind of briefly touch on this. This is like, you know, it's a pretty good record. I think Hell is a better one, which I think comes out the next year. But I love all this early 70s James Brown stuff. But you know what I love even more? This is the third of the Stooges records, called The Raw Power. And I think I talked about before how these guys, I sort of came into them sort of later on. And when I first heard this record, I heard it on like probably streaming, 20 years ago or something. Which is, I know that's a sad thing to admit as a 56-year-old guy who's, into all this shit, that this has only been like in my world for that long. But hey, that means I've, got to discover it like way later than, you did. And, it was like a similar experience. All right, fine. It's not that cool that I just discovered this halfway through my life. And anyway, what I'm trying to say here is I initially just heard the Iggy Pop mix. And so that was the mix I've grown to love. And I've grown to like the Bowie mix as well. This is one of the reissues that has both mixes on it. And I like both of them for different reasons. But the Iggy one is just, so in your face. And that's kind of what this, record does. It's just like, give me danger, search and destroy. Your pretty face is going to hell. I mean, there's really nothing else I can say about that record. You should just listen to it and, shut this video off and go listen to it. And then come back later. And when you come back, we will be over here talking about this guy. We got a couple of these. We got this just sort of like a reissued one. We got this NEMS one. Another NEMS one. And then we got this Russian one, which is really neat. Doesn't sound great, but it's Russian, and all the song titles are in Russian on the actual record. Anyway, I always like to think of these records like when they first come out. A lot of these records, that came out, in 1973 that are huge records to me now. But I didn't get to experience them like right when they came out. So what that was like, because I remember what, when I first brought, I was listening to Slayer, Hell Awaits for a long time. And then, when I brought home Rain and Blood, what that was like the first time I heard that. That was an experience, and I remembered that very well. So I wonder what it was like to come home, maybe not as a Russian person, but I'm just kidding. Coming home and hearing this record for the, putting this on, and then that riff for the song Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath comes on. And, that's one of their best songs. And we also got the CD here, too. Well, we're well prepared tonight for this. And this is some of my favorite artwork, too, is I can just imagine, like, just staring at this shit when you get home and you're listening to this. But then, the song Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and then it gets to the where can you, that where can you run to riff in the middle, and that's just when you would, probably pick up the bong and throw it against the wall and just want to fucking explode. But then this record, you get the track 2 thing, because you get, and I know I say this in every episode of this is my favorite song, but I all those, we just ignore all those, because A National Acrobat is my favorite Black Sabbath song. So we'll just leave it at that. And I think lyrically, that's one of the ones that, if it's not your favorite Sabbath song, but if you're like a huge fan like myself, the lyrics in that song are probably a big reason why. That's just one of them. There's a few of those. Wheels of Confusion is probably one of those. I don't know, there's a lot of them. Those just like those kind of heavy ones that really make you think, man. Those are the Sabbath songs that we love. But this has, Looking for Today, which I think is one of their most underrated songs. And the whole record is just great. My least favorite song on here is, but it has the best song title, is Sabra Cadabra. And it's all right. It's just a little too little too for me, swings, but I don't know. Did you think I forgot that Blue Oyster Cult put out a record in 1973? No, I didn't. So yeah, Tyranny and Mutation comes out in 1973, which opens with the rocker, The Red and the Black, which we talked about. And also this record, side one is the red, side one is the black, and side two is the red. And then the first song is called The Red and the Black. But those lyrics show up on the first record as well. I got a dry throat. That's why I get the tea tonight. Usually I have like straight whiskey. I'm just kidding. Straight edge. But The Red and the Black is an amazing, it's one of their best songs. I think that's still in their live repertoire. Odin on Life Itself. And then one of my favorite songs, Hot Rails to Hell. Which I think, yeah, that's one of the ones written by Joe Bashar, the bassist. And I like all the stuff that he's written for them. He was sort of like my low-key, I sound like a teenager, my low-key favorite. But he's maybe my low-key favorite member of BOC, even though I think he left shortly after this, maybe. I don't know. But then I think he wrote the lyrics to the next song, Seven Screaming Dizbusters, which... the live version of that, I mean, this record is amazing. But the live version of that from the record that would come out after the next studio record, On Your Feet or On Your Knees, which really, before you even listen to these studio ones, you should just go out and find that record and play that. Especially because the version of Seven Screaming Dizbusters on there is a place you should go to. And that one, if you do a little research on what that song is about, you may think a little differently about it. But I mean, the song is amazing, and and then Baby Ice Dog. I think that's the one that's maybe written by Patti Smith. Not my favorite song on there. Wings Wetted Down is great. But Teen Archer is the other one I really love on here. But, these guys, we're going to keep talking about their records because they, keep going for a while after that. They have, a lot of great stuff after that. But we're going to go again. We're going to go back to these guys who we've been talking about quite a bit on here. And this is the Budgie record, Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, and this comes from the little... the box set that has the 3 MCA records in it, and but this one is great. And if you only just heard the opener, Bread Fan, which is that real fast one that Metallica covered, that would be fine. But this whole record is great, and it's another just these guys are underrated. I'll keep talking about them. They do sort of a passable cover of Baby Please Don't Go, which I think a lot of people have done. Nugent, Aerosmith maybe. It's just sort of like a staple. And, but, after that, but there's, also they have the fun song titles again, like You're the Biggest Thing Since Sliced Bread. Is that what it is? Something like that. The writing on this is so small I can't read it, but I have this playlist up on here. Yeah, You're the Biggest Thing Since Sliced Bread. And that song has a nasty riff in it, and it's almost like it should be illegal that it's in a song that has such a corny title. But it's a great song. And then, In the Grip of a Tire Fitter's Hand. But my song on this record is the, if Bread Fan is the perfect opener, the perfect closer on this is Parents, which is this epic 10-minute song that's, got these real dark and heavy lyrics to it. And there's a theme in 1973 of dark and heavy, man. But this song has that, quite a bit of that. And it's not to be missed, this record. I'm going to keep saying these early Budgie records are worth getting. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon comes out in 1973. Do we need to talk about that record? That's one of those records, like, I don't really listen to it as much as, like, Animals nowadays. But I do like Pink Floyd, and I've been revisiting their stuff lately. And, I played that one again recently, and it's, it's all right. It's a fun 45 minutes or whatever it is. But that was one that, like, we listened to, like, moronic teenagers laying on the floor of my friend's, dining room after school, playing that and getting high and listening to that, and, like, Frank Zappa Freak Out. But that was sort of my first memory of that record. And, yeah. But the thing about Floyd, they didn't have riffs. You know who did have riffs, though? Was Deep Purple. And this is the last of the Mach 2 records with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover, who would then come back 87 on the Perfect Strangers record. And this is a great record. Again, it's got, I never noticed, my version copy of this says Woman from Tokyo. Is this worth more money? I bought this for $8 apparently, and it says El Caper. So El Caper, if you're out there and you want your copy of Deep Purple's Who Do We Think We Are back, I get it here. Because it's got the misspelling of Tokyo on it. Anyway, that was a hit for them. It's a pretty good song. But I love Super Trooper. But this record, Deep Purple has a lot of... well, let's talk about the song Rat Bat Blue first. Which has, that's one of the best riffs on the record, and maybe one of the best... it's the best song on this record, in my opinion. But it, like a lot of Deep Purple songs, if you start to listen to the lyrics, you cringe a little inside. And this Rat Bat Blue is certainly one of those songs, as is Smooth Dancer. So, yeah, I mean, this is a great record. I don't think it's as essential as, like, Machine Head or Fireball. It's a good, this was sort of under turmoil. I think they were sort of throwing all those songs together at the time. But yeah, speaking of having to hold your nose while listening to music, Frank Zappa put out Overnight Sensation in 1973, which has, some of those, musically it's a perfect record. There's a lot of, like the guitar stuff on this is sort of the beginning of my favorite guitar playing that Zappa does, which, shows up more in the next year, at least, especially on the Roxy album and Apostrophe. But this record, some of the lyrics on this are just, a little out there, But that's why we have Funkadelic, Cosmic Slop to talk about. And this is sort of the beginning of their, when they started using Pedro Bell, the guy that did some of those, a lot of the cool artwork, the cartoons, and all the little inscriptions on the records. And this is sort of right before a lot of the guys from James Brown's band started showing up more on a permanent basis to the band. But this is a great record, and the thing with this record too is, there's some really like upbeat, like funky songs on here, but the overall like lyrical themes of this record are real dark and sad, and like failed relationships and pining for lovers and that kind of thing. You Can't Miss What You Can't Measure is one of those. Can't Stand the Strain, the last song on the record, which was great. This Broken Heart. But then it's got, the amazing Cosmic Slop, which is got that, that famous riff that's just a perfect hard rock funk riff. And that one's sang by Gary Scheider, who we talked about a little bit on the last episode here. And yeah, one of my favorite things about a lot of funk and soul artists is when they can, create sort of upbeat, happy sounding music And then when you pay attention to the lyrics, it's, these sort of dark themes. When you can mix those and, make it listenable and enjoyable, that's the kind of stuff in my wheelhouse. So that's why we're talking about that record here. And we're going to keep talking about their records because I think they kind of get better. And then, Parliament is releasing records along the same, in the same timeline, starting, I think, in 74. Yeah, 74, we're going to have a lot more than what we got here tonight. But it is getting late over here. My voice is starting to, I've been like in the house all weekend, and today I talked on the phone a lot, and I talked to the cat. I just kind of talk to myself sometimes. I said thank you to the guy that brought food to me earlier, some Mexican food. It was pretty good. It was actually really good. I still can't really taste dairy right now, but I powered through this. So yeah, so my voice is out there. But let's talk about one more. This is almost like we're doing this alphabetical, because if I didn't talk about this, and speaking of what we were just talking about, how's that segue? I didn't even fucking plan that. Pardon my language. So this ZZ Top record, I mean, really? If you don't have this one, if you're like one of those people that just has like, the one with "Give Me All Your Lovin'" on it or whatever, or like the greatest hits, get out of here. This one immediately, punches you in the face. Waiting for the Bus, come on. Jesus Just Left Chicago, that bluesy song. And these are every song on there is written by them. Riffs, Hot Blue and Righteous, Precious and Grace, and then, one of their most famous songs, La Grange. This is like a perfect rock record, and if for anything, the guitar sound on this is perfect. For 1973, the tone, a lot of the guys were getting, great tone in 1973, obviously, because we have all this stuff. And yeah, this is get this record if you don't have it. I don't know what else to tell you if you're failing at life. I had a lot more to talk about here, but my voice is running out, and I don't know how long I've been talking. But let's just show you some of the other ones, and maybe we'll say something about some of them. Sly and the Family Stone, Fresh, obviously. Second song, If You Want Me to Stay. Let's see, that's all we need to say about that. Between Nothingness and Eternity by the Mahavishnu Orchestra. You get on this level with me? Maybe, oops, sorry. Sorry. All these Kool and the Gang records from the 70s. This one, Wild and Peaceful. It has the song, I don't remember which one. I think it might be the song Wild and Peaceful. Is sampled in the song Summertime by Jazzy Jeff from the Fresh Prince, which is a great fucking song. I can't get that high anymore. It's the chemotherapy. I get in trouble when I talk about Steely Dan with some people, but we don't have to. We can keep this between us. But this is a good one, obviously. Sorry I didn't get to that. You sometimes get in trouble if you talk about these guys, because some people might think you're racist or something, which is kind of a weird thing to say since they're using like Muscle Shoals people. I don't know. This isn't like a racist. This is a great album. I Ain't the One, Tuesday's Gone, Give Me 3 Steps, Simple Man, Freebird, bro. Okay. Oh, now they're all falling. This one, I'm from Boston, so we like, and they did this on Red, like early on, too. It's not like some, like, record store day bullshit. But this is one of the first ones I loved as a kid. They were just like a big band in my house. And I think it was because, in 1980, they were on the radio all the time in Massachusetts on WCOZ and WBCN, which is where Peter Wolf came from. But this one has House Party, Back to Get You, Strutting with My Baby, South Side Shuffle, and Give It to Me. And just look at those are cool guys. But this is another one of those bands. Sometimes some of my friends make fun of me for talking about. I don't give a shit. I like them. Whatever. And I like him even into the 80s. So, whatever. I like this shit too. But I didn't mean to call it shit. It's Herbie Hancock. But this is a funky record. One of those weird early 70s Herbie Hancock records. I love him because his career is like all over the place. And, this is one of those records. There's 3 songs on it. A lot of people were doing this kind of stuff at this time. Miles Davis. And I love all of it. And this is no exception. And then let's close it with, this is a reissue of this. But Neil Young's Time Fades Away. This is like the 50th anniversary version that came out a couple years ago. And, this is one of the ones from the Dirt trilogy, which I did an episode on these 3 Neil Young records, which was this, On the Beach, and Tonight's the Night. A dear friend of mine, Isaac Turner, and I did an episode on this podcast when it was just audio talking about those 3 records, which was a lot of fun. And if you like Neil Young, or if you want to know like the story between those 3 records, the story behind those 3 records, we had a lot of fun talking about that. He's, he's a music, he teaches music at college, and, but he talks, so he's very well-researched, but also very passionate about music. And, but I love I gotta get him back on here at some point, because he's a hoot to talk to. But we talk a lot about these 3 records, but this record is when he did it's a live record it's a live record, but it was all unreleased songs, which was a cool concept. The Grateful Dead kind of did that with, Europe 72 had a lot of songs on there that weren't, that never even made it on studio records. But we don't have to talk about the Dead on here. I talk about like Youth of Today and shit on here. Now I'm talking about Steely Dan and how Tennessee Jed was never recorded. But this record is a great record, and it's like it's a loud record, and I love this era of Neil Young. I love the song L.A. The song Last Dance is a perfect song. The song L.A. is a pretty funny song, so they're making fun of Los Angeles. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers, by the way, for winning the World Series. Sorry, Toronto. With that said, we're going to try to get to 1974 a little faster than we got to 1973. I appreciate all the new people who have shown interest in this channel, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching.